For Crema Media's Polity, I'm Sane Dlamini. Miles Gupega discusses his book titled Vuyo's From a Big Dreamer to Living the Dream. You turned a television advert into a real business. Can you tell us how Vuyo's journey started?
Well, basically, as you've said, I saw a TV advert about this character called Vuyo. It was a South African brewery's advert about this guy, rags to riches. He sells boerewors on the side of the street, and he grows a business into a multi-billion rand empire. And I thought, I wonder if it's based on a true story. I actually thought Vuyo existed, and when I searched, I discovered no, there was no Vuyo, and I trademarked it, and I became Vuyo.
You say your journey has taught you lessons that you wish you could have read in a book. Can you share a few of those lessons for the benefits of other budding young entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so what I discovered was that when I started a business, there was no good content or books that talked about the journey in the beginning. All the books I could find were already written by successful entrepreneurs. And what I discovered was most of those books, they already felt like the guy knew he was going to be successful because they write them like as a memoir, looking back. So I think most of them had forgotten how it felt in the early days. So I got frustrated because I thought, look, but I can't be the only person who's going through these things right now. And I don't have a rich uncle I can phone and say, listen, man, this is difficult. Is it meant to be this difficult? So I decided, if I'm having such a tough time, imagine a Sipho or a Temba somewhere in Soweto, how hard their journey must be, right? So I decided, I'm going to write this thing. I'm just going to share my experiences, lessons I'm learning as I'm going along. And that's exactly how the book came about. It was literally, and some of the lessons like, you've often heard people say location, location, location. It's always 3 times. They never say location or location, location. It's always location, location, location. And I discovered the hard way why it's said 3 times. And this is my interpretation as to why it's said 3 times. It's because location has to work for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So if you're in a retail space, you must make sure you've got traffic in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. So, and I learned that the hard way because the restaurant, my first restaurant, we had good lunch trade, but we didn't have morning trade or dinner traffic, which meant, we're breaking even on one trade. But to be a successful retail business, you need at least 2 trades to carry you through.
You also emphasize the importance of beginning and starting small. Why is that an important foundation to a successful business?
Because a lot of people have got really cool ideas and great business ideas, but they never get around to actually executing on them because sometimes the ideas are so big, they are daunting. So they end up just going to bed with the concept, the idea, as if that is the business itself. They never get to a point where they actually execute. And the easiest way to execute anything is starting small. Start really, really tiny. We started at the local market selling boerewors. And it costs us 500 rands a weekend. So that's actually achievable. It's on a weekend. Yes, my car smells like boerewors rolls and chakalaka all the time, but it was something I could do. I didn't need funding. I didn't need anything. I literally just rocked up and we started selling.
Why is it important for aspiring entrepreneurs to share their ideas with as many people as possible?
I think it's important to share your ideas in the beginning to as many people as possible, largely because people will, funny enough, give you other views you didn't anticipate. Because in your mind, you fall in love with your idea and it's all great, which is good. But you also need someone to, throw some sense into it or give you a perspective you didn't see. So often a lot of entrepreneurs are scared to do this. They think people are going to steal their ideas. And that's rubbish because honestly, no one ever sees your idea like you see it in your mind's eye. So they may see it, they may think it's a great idea, but they'll never execute it like you.
You could have easily compiled a recipe book with your favorite dishes, but you opted for recipes to a successful business. Why?
Because I think it's a bigger need. We need more entrepreneurs in this country. Every business, every big successful multinational business in the world was started by an entrepreneur, and that's a fact. So that gets me thinking, if more entrepreneurs are starting now, in 10 years' time, this country will be in a far better place because people have started. So I thought, well, also, I've already invented some of the wheel, you know, so there's no need for someone else to reinvent it. So if I could share my lessons as to why the wheel spins, someone else could take it and move forward and build a bicycle, which is probably better than just the wheel.
Yeah. Your mom also now calls you Vuyo.
Sadly, this is true.
Because
Yes.
of your brand,
Yes.
how powerful it is.
Yes.
Why is branding so important?
I think, you know, you asked if I'm actually, funny enough, I'm working on a cookbook now, all right? And the importance of branding is that you could work and live your entire life and never create a great brand. But a great brand is one thing that takes you even through the tough times, even when your product is not measuring up, right? Because I worked at Microsoft for about 7 years, and one of the things I learned there is the importance of a great brand. A great brand allows your product to catch up when the product is not great, but the product has to catch up and supersede. And once the product is great, it helps the brand rise again, and it's a mutually beneficial relationship. In fact, I call it the brand bank. When your product does well, it improves the brand bank, it deposits in the brand bank. When it's not doing so great, the brand bank loans it back to the product and allows it to catch up. And it also helps your customer to have trust in you and follow you, and more importantly, love you and stay committed to you even when you're going through tough times.
Your business is situated in a popular Vilakazi Street in Soweto, where Nobel laureate, former President Nelson Mandela, and Archbishop Desmond Tutu grew up. How do you keep up with the competition with the other famous restaurants in the area, and what impact does that have in your business?
Look, I mean, competition is great. I think there's a reason why food courts work. You know, logically you think, why would you want to be in a place where there's 10 other restaurants? The truth is, food courts will probably work much better than a standalone restaurant, because a standalone restaurant is a destination, you have to go there. Whereas a food court, it allows people to, you know, congregate, and, you know, if you're craving this, you can go across. If you want this, you come across. So it works very, very well. So I think competition also is good just from bringing customers, but it's also good for improving product.
You have a solid IT background. It must have been a challenge to move from that background to food industry now. What kept you going?
Look, I think, yeah, it was very, very difficult, but I discovered that because I came from a different industry, and something I highly recommend for people to do, to move from one industry to another, is because when you come to a new industry, you don't have all the answers, and often I ask stupid questions that I never got good answers for. So, and also because I had knowledge in a totally different industry, I could apply some of that knowledge in an industry that never had that knowledge. So, you know, as much as there's things I didn't know, but the other knowledge also gave me a great opportunity to show people that, hang on, there's faster and better ways of doing the same thing.
You say a will is far more important when starting a business than capital. Can you unpack that statement for someone who is in a process of opening his or her own business?
Well, I'll say that in a combination of what I said earlier about starting small, right? When you start small, capital is not a big requirement. And a lesson I learned from my mom, she always said to me, when you're stuck on the side of the road, no one stops to help you. But when you're stuck on the side of the road and you get out of your own car and you start pushing, you'll be surprised as to how many people will come out and push you. And that's what happens when you start small. You start small, then there's demonstrable evidence. You can show people, this is what I'm doing and this is what I've done, and you'd be surprised. Then more people say, oh, okay, this guy, you know, this guy's got something, he's doing, you know, it's small, but he's doing. He's not making money, but he's doing, you know. And then they come in and then they say, listen, have you considered this? Maybe this will help you make money, or this and this. And then all of a sudden, the circle gets bigger. And even when it's tough in the beginning, the will gets you through. It's the will that keeps you waking up every morning to go sell those boeries and, you know, suffering a car that smells like shakalaka and boerewors all the time. Is the will that knowing that you will overcome. And that's actually the one thing that other people see in you, that helps them want to be part of your team and invest in you.
That was Miles Gubheka, also known as Vuyo, speaking to Creamer Media's Polity about his book titled Vuyo's From a Big Dreamer to Living the Dream.